6.
I gotta conserve media. I got like 8 hours of interviews.
My name is Kareem Rahma. I'm a comedian and a musician. I'm the lead singer of Tiny Gun. Which is some sort of rock and roll group that started as a joke and then became real. It started as me wanting to do like rock and roll Lonely Island, and then it became wanting to be like New Order. Coming from a comedic background, I just thought it was like another way to be funny, but then I enjoyed the process of writing songs so much that I was like, you know what, not everything has to be a joke. I think like we're kind of like scene adjacent. We're not at the core scene, and that's probably because we're old. We're definitely older than the other bands that are cool. Everyone except for Dale has a child, including myself, and we're all 30 plus, and I think that all the other cool bands are like 20-year-olds, which it should be that way. We're cool with being scene adjacent. We're happy to like play with everyone and be around and play at the same venues and play at the same shows sometimes, but we're not necessarily the center of attention, which that's okay with us. I think that I've been here for 13 years, and I don't know if I didn't notice it or if it wasn't happening, but it feels like everyone right now that's moving to New York seems to want to make it or like has a purpose. Like I moved to New York without any intention. I was just like, well, it's time to move to New York. Like that's what people do. But I think everyone that moves here now is like, I'm gonna go to New York and I'm gonna become a pop star, or I'm gonna become a rock star, or I'm gonna become a famous comedian. Like everyone has this like goal and vision of themselves as being famous, which I think for at least from like 2012 to 2020, I don't think that was necessarily the case. I think people were just moving to New York because that's what you do when you're coming from the Midwest or whatever. But I think now everyone that I meet is so motivated, so driven, so like hell-bent on becoming somebody or becoming famous or becoming a pop star or pursuing their passion in a professional manner rather than just like dinking around. Like I feel like the DIY scene in 2012, 2013, 2014, it was very much so about just making stuff and making music and just playing at shitty venues that weren't venues, which is still happening now, but it feels like there is a gravitational pull towards, especially rock and roll, I'd say. Like it feels like everyone is in a band or wants to be in a band or is in some sort of project that involves rock and roll, which I think is a net positive for everyone. I think fucking rock and roll makes you feel cool. I rode my bike over here and I felt cool listening to Fontaine's DC. Like, I think that's the thing about good rock music. It makes me feel good and makes me feel cool when I'm biking over the fucking Williamsburg Bridge. Gives that main character energy. Another big thing is that a rock and roll show is fucking fun live. Like it's really fun. It's more fun than anything that you can experience. And so I think as a reaction to the pandemic and to people being stuck in the house for so long, everybody wants to be at a concert, not even a show. They want to be at a concert. So I think the live show is a lot of why rock and roll is kind of making a comeback. The two that I really like right now are Telescreens and Voyeur. I'm sure everyone's going to say these two bands, which is good because it means that they're doing something right. But like Telescreens, I heard Phone Booth on Spotify and I immediately DM'd them and was like, this is such great fucking music. And then I met up with Jackson. We played a show together at Niagara, but that's definitely one of my favorite bands that are in the city right now. Voyeur. I think Jake is a genius. I think Charlene's a genius. I think the rest of the band are geniuses. And I think that they sit at opposite ends of the spectrum, which I think is really cool. It feels cool, it looks cool, it feels natural, it looks authentic. And I think most of all, they're like having fun, which you can see. You know, you don't want to watch a band that's not having fun. I think that's a really important thing. The pot is boiling. You know what I mean? Like the pot is boiling, but it hasn't fucking frothed and like exploded. So I think that's what's happening right now, and I can feel it. Like I can feel the thing, and I think that it's also just like it's happening. It's just taking a little longer to marinate, which is good. I think it's better because maybe people aren't ready yet for that big moment. I mean, he's a good producer, but like he makes music for the middle, for the masses. And I think a lot of what's happening here is not for the masses yet. So I think they have to catch up. Like the audience has to catch up for something to truly pop off like that. And I also think he's probably disconnected from reality because he's rich and works with Taylor Swift and like whatever. What does he know? Literally, what does he know? He doesn't come to these parties. literally never seen these bands. He doesn't come to these parties. Like, what does he know? There are like scenes within a scene and they exist adjacently. And I still don't fucking understand. Like, even though Times Square is like a micro fucking neighborhood inside of a larger neighborhood, inside of the biggest city in the world, or like the greatest city in the world, like, I still don't really understand what it is. I don't understand the factions. I don't understand who's friends with who. To me, it's just like, it doesn't even matter, you know? Like, who knows and who cares? But I think like that just goes to show how disconnected he is. It is probably the most popular project that came out of that time and place, but it doesn't represent everything else. And it's also something that is not as big as he, like, how many people are in America? 300 million? And like, how many people know the Red Scare podcast? 200,000? Like, know about it? 400,000 know about it? Like, it's not actually big. It's just, it's like big because we live next to it, but like it's not, and we're in it, but like no one knows or cares literally outside of the world like that we live in. I think that they liked it. Which is great. That song's not anti-rich parents. I like people with rich parents. I think that they're awesome, especially when they're doing things like coming to shows. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not anti-Nepo baby. I think Nepo babies are essential. As long as they participate, you know what I mean? And don't have a better than thou attitude. I did think it was a funny song to sing because I did feel like the audience was like, this song is about me, which is good. You know, like it's a good thing. I think like everything is a contradiction. Like there's nothing that's pure good and there's nothing that's pure evil. And that's what kind of my songs are about, but it's making it obvious that like everyone and everything is a contradiction. And it's not rocket science, but I feel like, you know, feel good songs are there to make you feel good and feel bad songs are there to wallow in your pity with you. But like they both exist and you can feel the same way at the same time. You can feel both those feelings at the same time. And I think that is how I feel about New York. Like, I'm like, I love this city. It's the greatest thing in the world. I'm like riding my bike over the bridge and it's terrific. And then I like almost get hit by a car. And then I'm like, I fucking hate this city. This place is a piece of shit. So it's just like every day, I think every day that I've been here, I've said, I love this city and I hate the city in the same day. You learn to love it. You just accept it for what it is. And that it's an ever evolving living being that you cannot control. Bad advice is trying to be cool. Bad advice is making an effort to be cool. I think that that's the worst advice you can possibly receive because I did it for a long time and it didn't work. Trying to be cool is like trying to fit in and like do what other people are doing and try to like approach a project with like the audience as the first barometer of success and then yourself having fun or finding it interesting being the second barometer. And I think you have to flip those things. Like my prior lives is when I was like trying to fit in or trying to be cool. But then when I decided to become a comedian, I was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And honestly, the first probably 6 months to a year was cringe as fuck. But I needed that to like find my voice and figure out what I wanted to say. But if I would have tried to skip that step and not do like what I want to do, what I feel, then I wouldn't have known how to express how I feel. You know what I mean? Because then if you're trying to be cool, you're expressing other people's thoughts and like other people's projections. But if you're being authentically yourself, then you're naturally expressing your own ideas. And I think that's how things become great. You know, I think that's like the purest and greatest. And I'm not even talking about from like an artistic standpoint. I'm talking about also from a commercial standpoint. Because I don't know what most people think, but like I'm in this for fun, but I'm also in this for like commercial success. And I think anyone who tells you that otherwise is a liar. But like I do think with a commercial brain, and I do think about my projects and how they'll be perceived by the market, right? But it's not the deciding factor on whether or not I do something. I think it makes it more fun if the market resonates with your ideas of being cool or your ideas of sadness or happiness or whatever than somebody else's that you're projecting through you. Like, I think you're the vessel to your own thoughts and opinions and expression. You're not a vessel for other people's. fuck yeah. I mean, like people come to New York and change their entire personalities. And I think that that's part of coming to New York, because I think a lot of people are repressed in their hometowns, whether they're like gay or Muslim or like trans or whatever, or like just weird. And you can't be that because there's no acceptance. But here you can pretty much do whatever you want and no one will bat an eye. And I think part of coming to New York is freeing yourself of other people and just doing your thing, which is, I think, the biggest draw to the city, is that you feel like an outsider in your hometown, and then you come to New York and you immediately feel accepted, and it doesn't matter what you are or who you are. And when I moved here, I was like, I'm coming for a year. I'm gonna get some life experience. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna be fucking awesome because I lived in New York for a year. I'm gonna have like seen so many things and met so many people and done so much. And then like 1 year turned into 2, and then turned into 3, and then turned into 4, and then now it's like almost 13. And I don't think, I mean, I say I'm gonna move every year, but I don't. I'm from St. Paul and I moved here in 2012. I felt like I couldn't figure out how to express what I wanted to express, which made me really sad. And that's how I felt. I just felt sad and melancholy and filled with ennui. And when I moved here, those feelings didn't go away. It took a long time, but I moved late. Like I moved when I was 25. And I think that is old to move to New York. You know what I mean? I feel like the best way is to move here during college or like when you're 21 or 22, but I stuck around for a little bit longer. But there are no like regrets about that, because moving a little older, I had a little more self-control. I had a little bit more life experience, and I like know a lot of people who burnt out and had to leave the city. If you move here when you're 21 and you have no self-control, like it's a fucking hard place to live. So I think moving at 25 like was a pro. And it also, I didn't become a comedian until I was 33, and that's the most successful career I've had. But like, I think that late era pivot, and I didn't publish my first song until I was like 35. Like I'm fucking old compared to a lot of people, but I think like my mentality is still young. Like I feel like I'm living my 20s and my 30s, and I live my 30s and my 20s. So like at heart, I feel young, and I feel like I fit in. And like, that's the other thing, is like in Minneapolis, it might be weird for me, a 38-year-old, to like know all these 20-year-olds, but like, I think it's completely normal here, and I don't even think about it. I don't think they think about it either. Like, I'm friends with people who are 20, and I'm friends with people who are 50, and I'm friends with people who are 60, And I think in small towns and in the Midwest and in other kind of parts of the States, like, I don't think you're kind of like, when you turn 30, it's like, oh, you're only friends with like other people who are couples or other people who have families, and you kind of like stick to these weird, it's so weird to me. Like, but like, this is Neverland. Like, New York City is Neverland. Like, you can never, if you don't want to, you don't have to grow up. And I don't mean it in the traditional sense. Like, I have a family, like I have a kid, but like, I'm still fucking at a show last night performing in a boxing ring, and like, I'm still gonna like play shows, I'm still gonna do comedy, I'm still gonna like have as much fun as possible. And I'm excited to give my kid that life too, because she's gonna grow up hanging out with all these cool people. She's like gonna have a fucking awesome childhood. And I'm like very excited for her to grow up in New York City. I think to the New Yorker it is. I think to the person living here, I think, you have a shared experience with the person that's making the music, which is the city, which I think a very big part of everyone's life. That anyone who lives in New York, like, New York is a big part of your life. I don't think that's the same for like St. Louis, maybe, no offense. But that's the fact of the matter. Like, people from all over the world come here for vacation. It's a place where people come with their families, and it's a big deal to come to New York City with your family, like, and visit. So of course, for New Yorkers, we have like a connection to other New Yorkers and people that are putting out art, whether it's photos or like media, like magazines or whatever. Like, we're proud of this homegrown effort. Does it make it better in the general sense? Like, probably not, But for me as an individual, I definitely tend to gravitate towards stuff that is like local, because our version of local is like the most international place in the world. Like, it feels like It can come from anywhere. Even if you think about like just the boroughs, the 5 different countries, like each borough is a different country. And you can feel it in the restaurants and the people who live there, in the music, in the stuff that's being made. And then all the people in those boroughs are literally from different countries. So it's like, it is literally the world. So yeah, I think that the fucking stuff that comes out of it is the best, which is contradictory to what I just said. Well, I only just started making a living off of my comedy this year. Like, this is the year that I took no paychecks from anyone unless it was from people that were hiring me to, do work for them or whatever. So that feels like a massive success to be able to not have a job at all. And it feels like the right direction. And what I would love is, like, I think that my music career, my band, Tiny Gun, that is the most fun that I have performing. That is the most fun that we just went into the studio and recorded our first EP. And it's the most fun.
That stays on the record.
That's my most fun project. I think it's the latest thing I've started, so it's like still early, but I would love for that project to like really, support me and the band financially in some capacity. So that would be a huge success because I love performing music. I think it is my favorite type of performance, and I do everything from stand-up to like sketch to these live shows to like readings and like music is my favorite one of all those things, but it feels the furthest away from me. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, I'm just having fun being a participant in something that feels like a scene. And then in terms of like the rest of my stuff, like I do hope that will be a draw to come see the music. And I hope that people will resonate with the music and then that becomes its own thing. But like, I do see it as like a pipeline, to the music. But overall, like I would love to raise a Nepo baby in New York City. And that's kind of my goal is like, if my daughter's a Nepo baby, it's great. Like I would love to for her to be like my dad's Kareem Rahma. Like, that's the goal, and be proud of that and be like, you can watch him on TV. I was thinking about this on the bike ride. I think about a lot of things. That's why I like riding a bike. I don't know if I will ever feel successful. Like I still don't feel successful. I don't feel like I've made it. I don't feel successful. And I recognize how far I've come from the first video I posted on TikTok in 2019, which was cringe. It was an impression of Elton John. Who knows why? But from there until now, a lot of shit has happened. I gave the commencement speech at my college to 60,000 people.
Please join me in welcoming Kareem Rahma.
The University of Minnesota. Like they invited me to give the commencement speech to the graduating class of 2020 or 2021, I don't remember. But like, it's a huge college.
Stand up, parents and families, stand up. They all deserve it. If you're having a hard time, just pretend I'm famous.
And last night at the poetry event, I met this girl who went to school in Minnesota, and she goes, there's a huge photo of you in the halls of Hubbard School of Journalism. And I was like, wait, what? Like me? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, when did you graduate? She's like, I just graduated. She's like, I've looked at your picture every day for 4 years. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. But like, so they think I've made it. Like my school, my alma mater is like, this guy's a successful alumni. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a complete disconnect from maybe the reality. I always worry that people are gonna like to think that like not to say hello or something. Like I don't wanna be bothered, which is not true. I love being bothered. That actually does make me feel successful when people say hi or like, I love your stuff. It's the best form of flattery. But yeah, like, I don't know. That's a weird thing. Like I don't feel successful. I don't know if I'll ever feel successful. Everything is about like longevity. Like, is it sustainable? Can I do this for a long time? Because otherwise, like, I'm not really interested in like a hit of virality or a one-hit wonder. Like, I want everything to like grow slowly, and that's fine with me. It'll take time, but I like that. Like, I don't want to be famous. Like, I want to be like Jim Jarmusch. I want to be like known to some people that are in the know. And I think that like that is the level of fame or success that I would be comfortable with, is that people in certain circles are like, that's a great filmmaker, or that's a great musician, or that's a great artist. But like, I don't need everyone to know who I am. I really don't. Like, it's just about some specific circles think that I have good ideas. Like that like, this is a good idea, well executed good idea. Like that's, for me, success is when people tell me that like, man, I love your ideas. Like, they're really good. I think that like the evolution of short form into long form for me is kind of the same as going from like funny songs to real songs, because the feed and the algorithm are designed to exist for like 48 to 72 hours and then you never see something again. And I think long form and the good songs or the real songs are meant to be revisited. And so when I think about like the evolution of my projects, like I said, it's about longevity. It's about coming back to something. And so taking Subway Takes from being a fully short form show to now a short form show, a mid form show, which is Subway Takes Uncut, which are these longer episodes, to a long form show, which is The Last Stop, is a way to like expand that universe and expand my ideas without having to start something completely new, you know? It's just an extension, and it helps people kind of like connect with me and with the content on a deeper level. And that's not saying that like short form is bad. It's just like, I don't think that short form is the only thing, you know? Like, I think that chasing virality is like it's sad. It's a depressing feeling to like work really hard on something and then have it not go viral. That's just giving away so much. Like, it doesn't become about the process anymore, you know, if that's the measure of success, because there are too many external factors, which is why I prefer, like, people are like, dude, that video got 2 million views. And I don't care. Like, when I launched The Last Stop, which is the new talk show, my goal was 10,000 views. I was like, if this gets 10,000 views, I consider it a massive success. And I'm used to getting hundreds of millions of views on videos. But knowing that it's 30 minutes and 10,000 people watched it, to me, is a huge win. I have a philosophy where I like get something to 80% of the way and then I figure out the rest in production. And I think that that is a way to battle the desire to make something perfect, because there's no, like, I'll never release anything. So like, I have my own rule, which is like, if it's 80% there, it'll get to 100%. But the 20% that's missing figures itself out when you're making it, right? Like, but you don't want to sit there and keep making something that only you're watching, because then you'll never release it. So like, even with Subway Takes, like I say, so what's your take at the beginning of every episode? That was a complete accident. Like, that's just how I did the first 5 episodes. And then that was the show. You know, the initial idea was like, I'm going to do a 1-minute podcast on the subway because I don't want to listen to 30-minute podcast. I want to listen to a short podcast and I want to watch it. I don't want to film it. And then like, resource wise, I don't have the money or the capability to like edit a 30-minute thing. So I was like, I'm just going to do the bare minimum. And then it worked. And now I'm like building it backwards, you know, because a lot of times people are like, I'm going to launch the long form and then I'm going to use the short form to promote the long form. But that's a lot of fucking work. So what if there is no long form? Then you don't have to worry about anything except for the short form. And then when the time is right, you can launch the long form version of the short thing. So yeah, I don't know, a lot going on in the noggin. Thank you, that was awesome. Really fun. Great questions.